On the morning of November 13th, 2022, four students from the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, were discovered dead in their off-campus housing. Those students were Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonsalves. It was shortly later reported that these young people were horrifically stabbed to death. An immediate police investigation was opened and an intense manhunt began. At first, it seemed as if law enforcement had very little, if any, leads. Then, on December 7th, the police asked the public for help in searching for a white Hyundai Elantra in connection with the murders. On December 27th, authorities reported that DNA was recovered on a knife sheath found on one of the victims' beds. Then, on Friday, December 30th, a single suspect, Brian Koberger, age 28, was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on 4 counts of first-degree murder and burglary. On Monday, May 22nd, an Idaho judge entered not guilty pleas on behalf of the suspect, and his trial is set for October 2nd, 2023. This case is of particular interest to me because at the time my youngest was a student at the University of Idaho in Moscow, working towards earning her master's degree at the time of these brutal slayings. She has agreed to let me interview her for my channel. Welcome to Mountain Mama Family Lifestyle. My name is Mary. I have been married for 35 years. I am mom to 6 grown children. 3 of them are married, and my husband and I are expecting our 6th and 7th grandchildren. It's a wonderful and fearful life. I like to share topics like faith, food, fashion, function, and fun. And welcome to Abigail, and congratulations on receiving your master's degree.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, please tell me about your master's degree.
So I have a master's degree in 3 different areas of emphasis. The first one is piano pedagogy, the second one is performance, and the third one is collaborative piano.
Awesome. And you chose the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho for your master's studies, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And did you live on campus the entire time?
Yes, I did during the semesters. I came home for the summers and the Christmas breaks.
Okay, and you were there for how many years?
3 years.
3 years. And how far was your townhouse or apartment from the murder scene?
I would say it was about 3/4 of a mile away.
And did you personally know any of the victims?
No, I did not.
Have you ever visited their home or their house?
No, I have not.
When and how did you first hear about the murders?
I believe it was a Sunday afternoon. I was practicing in the performance hall on campus, and I got a text message saying that there had been a homicide on King Street and to shelter in place. And then I stayed there and I kept practicing. And I think it was maybe an hour later, we got a second text message clarifying that it was 4 homicides, but that they did not believe there was a current threat and that the shelter in place had been lifted and we were allowed to walk around campus again as usual.
So was that text message from the school or from a friend?
Yes, it was from the school.
Okay, and is that common for them to send out announcements via text messages?
They send out what they call vandal alerts. So if there's any issue or some form of possible danger, or if they're canceling classes, they send out texts or something like that.
And tell our viewers, vandal alert, what does that mean?
The vandal is University of Idaho's mascot.
Okay, got you. So after the crimes occurred, did you personally change any of your behavior after learning about them?
I think the biggest thing that I changed was I stopped walking to school at night because I would go home for dinner. I was very close to where I did all of my classes. So I would go home for dinner and then I would come back afterwards and I would practice, and it was the winter time, so it would be dark by then. And I started driving back instead of walking in the dark. And then I had just gotten a pair of headphones, really, really nice headphones that I really liked, but they were noise canceling and I just didn't really feel comfortable wearing them when I was alone. So I didn't use them for a while, even though I had just gotten them and they were new. And
that was smart. That was smart. Okay, so you took extra cautions for your security. Okay. And what about your teachers, friends, and acquaintances at the university? Do you think anything changed in their behavior after they heard about the crimes?
Some more than others. I know that I had certain friends who knew them, who were very affected by it. They were grieving very much. And then I had a friend who lived very close to where it happened, and that was very frightening for her to be that close. And then I had my teachers were all very concerned about us. You know, they wanted to make sure that we weren't walking alone or in the dark. They wanted to make sure that we were safe. So.
Right. So the university offered students the option for online studies at home for the rest of the semester, correct?
Yes.
And about how many students do you think chose to finish their fall semester at home and do online classes because of maybe fear that, there was no suspect in custody?
I don't know the exact number, but I remember coming back and thinking the campus felt very empty. So I would say at least coming back after Thanksgiving break, yes. I would say that at least a quarter or a third of students decided to stay home.
Wow. But did you stay on campus? You stayed on campus to finish out the semester?
Yes, I went home for Thanksgiving break, and then I went back for the rest of the semester on campus.
And then at that time, you were a student teacher's aide or assistant teacher. Was that even an option for you to go home and continue studies at home since you were a teacher's aide? Is that what you?
So I was a teaching assistant, and we had the option. Technically, it would have been an option for me because they gave that option to all of the students, and I could have made it work doing it online if I felt really strongly about that. They would have let me do that, but I didn't feel very strongly about it for myself, so I decided to go back.
Very good. The University of Idaho hosted a candlelight vigil on November 30th for the 4 students who had lost their lives. Did you attend that vigil?
I did attend that vigil. I was part of the University of Idaho Vandaliers, which is their honor choir on campus, and we sang at the vigil. We sang a song at the beginning, and then we stayed throughout the entire vigil, and we sang a song at the very end.
And I know that because I watched a lot of the online media about this because I was so interested since you were at the school. And your picture or your video of singing that choir would often show up as I was watching those news stories. So a suspect was arrested on Friday, December 30th, 2022. This was such a relief. Can you tell us when and how and when you learned about this arrest?
I think I first heard about it from you because I think you sent a text message to our family group chat saying that he had been caught, and then like an hour or two later maybe I got an email from the university because they had been sending out updates as well, and they said that he had been put into custody and that the authorities were very sure that it was him and they were confident that they had the right person.
At the time of these crimes, the suspect was a student at Washington State University. How far is the University of Idaho from Washington State University?
It's about a 20-minute drive, maybe 5 or 7 miles away.
So it's fairly close. I was surprised at how close it was. So have you visited Washington State University or Pullman, Washington?
A few times. I went to the WSU for a concert one evening, and then there's a bookstore in Pullman that I enjoy going to. So I've been there a few times.
What was the feeling or sentiment on campus after the arrest? And was there confidence that they had the correct person in custody?
I believe that there was confidence right away that they had the correct person in custody because they do have a lot of evidence to support that right now. And as far as the sentiment on campus, would say that for the rest of the semester, or for the first part of the spring semester, I suppose, it was very somber, but we were definitely very glad to know that they had somebody in custody.
Right. I know it was a relief for me. Did you personally, or did the campus relax any of the extra security measurements that were put in place after they had a suspect in custody?
I don't believe the campus relaxed any of the security measures because I still remember seeing the extra security vehicles parked around campus and seeing extra security around. So I don't believe the campus relaxed any of those measures. I personally just did some things in my house that made it so that if anybody tried to get in through any of the windows, they'd make a lot of noise. And I think I took that down because it was kind of ugly. I took it down probably halfway through the spring semester. So.
And you had blinds on the windows that would make a bunch of noise. Yes. So when you place something in front of them, if someone came in through the window. Okay. You graduated on May 13th and the university honored the 4 fallen students along with a 5th deceased student at the ceremony. Can you please tell me about that?
Yeah, so they gave them each an honorary bachelor's degree in the major that they had declared before they passed away. It was very nice to see that their families were there to accept the awards on their behalf.
Very nice. Is there anything you would like to say or add to the interview?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Well, congratulations again on achieving your master's degree, and thank you again for agreeing to do the interview. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
I was so happy that my husband and I and our daughter Anna could travel to Moscow, Idaho for Abigail's graduation ceremony. She has worked so hard with various jobs and earning scholarships and in her studies for both her bachelor's and her master's degrees. And the University of Idaho is so beautiful. The campus is amazing. The weather was gorgeous, and there were many trees in full bloom. However, there were often times of deep sadness for me while on the campus, as the murders were still fresh on my mind. It was a call to prayer for me to pray more for my family and for the families of those students who have suffered such tremendous loss. I can hardly imagine their grief, but I do know a family who has experienced this same agony. In 2000, when my family was living in Missouri, our pastor's daughter died a very sudden, unexpected, and violent death. She too was stabbed to death. She was young and she was beautiful, and she had such a vibrant personality. I knew Becky for a short while before she was murdered, and now I am more intimately connected to her as my oldest daughter grew up and married Becky's youngest son. Had Becky lived, we would enjoy precious grandchildren together. The Sunday immediately following Becky's funeral, her father, who was our pastor at the time, preached a sermon titled The Step of Death, and it's based on 1 Samuel 20, verse 3. It's from the perspective of a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ who is also a grieving father. He speaks from the heart as one who knows the tremendous pain and sorrow of great tragedy, and as one who knows the scriptures and the Lord and Savior well. He is very honest and tender-hearted, and it's a very emotional and moving message. I will link the sermon at the end of this video and in the description box below. I trust it will be a blessing to all who listen, and especially to those who have lost a young loved one suddenly and unexpectedly, and maybe even violently. I find it a very comforting message. Just listen.